welcome to another Europreneur Podcast. My name is Nir Zavaro. I'm so happy to have a very special guest today. As you all know, this is the the Entrepreneurs Organization's European podcast. And today, not only are we in the same chapter, not only is she my president, she's also a forum member with my in my chapter, Zohar Shmueli from EO Israel. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, so happy to be here.
So I know you're very busy, and I had to like literally drag you over the weekend to get some time. I think we can start by you telling us a little bit about your business. What do you do? And we'll jump straight from there. I have like a million questions to ask.
Okay. So, my business, my official business is I have a very big and happy restaurant in central Tel Aviv. I have a venue place a bit north of Tel Aviv, and we do weddings and where we celebrate with people when they're happy. But I am an entrepreneur in the food business, and the happy. I'm actually I think of myself as I make people happy, and it's through food. But that's my purpose is to make people happy. I have a long career. I've been working for 31 years in this business. I've had delicatessens and rotisseries and fast food and a lot of fun food places. But it's actually when I think about what I'm really doing is I'm caressing people and hosting people through food.
If we look at the hosting business, and food is a big part of it, right? Especially I think in Israel, we share the tables, we share the food. I was just explaining to EO members from Holland, from the Amsterdam, the Dutch chapter yesterday, while we're sitting in your restaurant, that it's okay to pick up the fork and just start eating. So, if you could go back, what would be the business you like the most in food that made you the happiest?
Wow, it's a very complicated question because when you go like through your life doing things, I mean it changes. The purpose changes as things go along, and different things that used to make you happy change their you change your attitude, and different things start to make you curious and more ambitious. So when we started as a catering, and the thing that made me really happy was to dream about like it was like a fantasy land. I used to sit with the couples, the families, and fantasize together about different concepts and just in interesting locations, like in the middle of the desert, for example, and just fantasize about things and work for months and months about all the tiny details. And then one day, at a certain time, it all comes to reality. And I remember like really feeling like shivering and crying because you materialized somebody else's fantasy and you made them really happy in a very memorable day. So that was really the thing that kept me going, because it's a very tough job and usually very complicated locations. So it's dangerous and it's risky, and it's a one shot event. You cannot, replay the next day, say, oops, it didn't work out, so let's do your wedding tomorrow again. I learned from my experience. It's a one-shot thing. And just making, just seeing everything come to life was the strongest thing for me. And that was my past. My present and future is more into sustainability and taking care of this world, and serving amazing food, but thinking about the universe and what we're leaving here behind us. So my whole perspective has changed. Maybe it's the age, maybe things that have happened, COVID, and just different things that have happened to this world, but my perspective is so different now. So we keep evolving, and that's what entrepreneurs do.
I would love to touch on the future, but just a little before that, you mentioned we did and other stuff, and I think you're very unique in that space of entrepreneurship many decades ago. doing it with a business partner that was also your spouse, building a huge business. And I think you've outdone yourself in so many different aspects. If someone is looking into starting their business today with a spouse, we talk a lot about building a business with friends. What would be the tip you would give people starting a business with their spouse?
You're my forum mate, so you know a lot about me. People used to ask me, how can you work with him? And I said, I cannot understand, other couples who don't work together because we were so compatible. We saw so many things in common. We really saw the world in like one frame. And the fact that you work with somebody who you know you will never cheat you, and we were so, it was like one person with four hands and four legs and two heads. I would fancy, like, I'm more like creative in the sense of have no boundaries. Ran, my ex-husband and the chef, is so talented, and he is an amazing chef. But I was the one that fantasized, and he was the one who cooked and materialized. And just, it's a partnership, and it's a contact that is so intimate because you really understand the inner mechanism of each other's psycho. It's something that is really, really deep. So, couples who have bad marriages or, bad relationships obviously will not get along as business partners. But for us, it was like having a baby every single night because, when you fantasize, as I said before, you fantasize about an event and it comes to life and it's beautiful, and hundreds of people come to you and say it's been amazing, we've had the most amazing experience, we love the food and love the decoration. It's like giving birth every single event. So it was like it was amazing for us. And the evidence is that we're not a couple anymore. We got divorced, but we're still business mates, and we keep on doing things together. We opened our venue place, but 2 years after we got divorced, and we're thinking about a restaurant outside of Israel, and we're not together. We haven't been together for 5.5 years, but this bond is so strong, and we do things so well together. So if you ask for a tip, go for it. If you're compatible, definitely go for it.
And if you're not compatible, you will learn it when you start building a business together.
If you're not compatible, don't do it. If you're not compatible, don't get married, and definitely don't build a business together. That's for sure. Getting
When you
divorced
found
is easier than breaking like a business. So
when you found the first like location for or location you have now for Claro, which is I think is a very special, unique restaurant in Tel Aviv, and we enjoy bringing our guests there a lot. We visit there quite often. It was a big undertaking as a project. How do you envision something that will take years to build? How do you do that?
wow, sometimes as entrepreneurs, I think what helps us is that we don't know how difficult the road is going to be. We jump into the water, we start our new project, and only in retrospect we realize that we were crazy for doing it, or that it was really, really such a tough way. And if we knew it ahead of time, maybe we wouldn't have done it. So when we found Claro, we've been looking for a location for a restaurant for quite a while, and we knew that it cannot be like a business building or just a regular place, because we're not like that. We're very colorful people, and we're really into interesting locations. As caterers, we also did that. We never worked in hotels, we never did like regular things. We always looked for the unordinary things. So a restaurant should have been really like something out of the, something really special. And Claro it took 4 years to build it, okay, to renovate. It's a 200-year-old building at central Tel Aviv, and it was built by German, very, very ultra-Orthodox Germans who moved to the Holy Land in the 1880s. They came here to live in the Holy Land, and they were farmers, and it was they grew grapes and made wine, and it was a vineyard. And it's a beautiful, beautiful old building. And when we were approached to ask us about this location, nobody offered us to build a restaurant. They actually wanted our advice whether to like what should this whole area be. And it was like they took us as advisors. Nobody thought that we could open such a big restaurant in the center of Tel Aviv. It was a huge, huge investment. But sometimes it's like matchmaking. It's like it's like in your love life. It matches. There's this chemistry of this building, and we fell in love with this amazing building who was in ruins. It was really in ruins. There were homeless people there. There was you needed a lot of imagination and hope and maybe stupidity to think that this could be a big successful restaurant in the middle of Tel Aviv. And actually it took 4 years to renovate, to rebuild it, to get all the facilities inside, it was really in ruins. So actually, one of our competitors, but we're really good friends with them, and it's a culinary group in Tel Aviv, and they own a lot of restaurants. So he came to me about a year before we opened. He said, "You're either stupid or really, really brave, because this is an enormous project. I don't think you can make money of it." And I said, "Since you know us very well, it's probably the second option, because we're not stupid is not our second name." Yeah, so we're really brave and we believe in it, and it is. You know me really well. When I get really excited, I start crying. So it takes about once or twice a week. I walk into Claro at noon, and I see all these people there. It's packed, and I start crying because I remember 10 years ago, and when people thought that we were either crazy or stupid, and it was, I couldn't hope for anything better than what Claro is now. I couldn't.
You know, you're talking about making people happy, but what people don't know is the other side of that coin in the food and beverage industry, where basically every single night, every lunch hour, you start from scratch. When you build a startup company, you write the code, you create things, and you build on top of that. For you, it's every service from scratch. I believe, by the way, it's one of the most interesting forms of art, being able to create a magical service every single night. And how do you not discourage sometimes? You need staff, the food's not arriving, the produce is not the best. And how do you find yourself able to keep going, keep motivating? You have a lot of employees, and how do you find that strength?
It's a magic. Sometimes there are things I can't really explain because they're not logical. There's this magic that happens every time I see a new raw material. Like Ran, my partner, my ex-husband, went to the south. We grow our own vegetables. Okay, we're a farm to table restaurant, but really, okay, it's not just nice a PR thing. We do grow our own vegetables in different parts of Israel because they're different climate and different seasons. So Alan brought a tiny pumpkin 2 days ago, like a really tiny pumpkin, and you eat it raw when it's not ripe yet, okay? Like you do with sometimes, they eat raw, not ripe papaya. So we said we'll try to do it with pumpkins. So he brought this tiny, beautiful pumpkin, and just all of a sudden, just all these ideas about different dishes. And we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. We'll put it in the wood oven for a whole night, and we'll do. So this thing that it kind of, it's like I don't know, like lava, really, it erupts out of you. It creates so much energy, and it's something that is insatiable. It keeps on making me I have all these ideas just by seeing a different pumpkin. And the people who stay with us are, I always laugh about it. They're clones of as if we cloned ourselves. They're like our sons and daughters. You cannot work with us for such a long time in such a difficult field. You're so right. You're being judged at every dish, every dish. Actually, you wrote me this morning that you had a great dinner, but your friend who was sitting in our terrace wasn't so happy about dinner last night. And in the past, I would crush. I would like, oh my God, somebody didn't like my food, had a bad experience. Now, what I did is I took her number and I forwarded it to the person in my company that deals with people who weren't as happy as we wanted them to be. Because if we believe in ourselves, we know that the real purpose is making people happy. So if I didn't make somebody happy that night, I'll go and talk to them, and I'll try to invite them again or whatever to correct the experience, because this is the real thing that we want. So this energy is a part of what I have 250 employees, okay, 150 at Claro and 100 in my other business, and they're a part of it. You feel it. You feel it when you go into Claro. You feel that these people want you to enjoy dinner or lunch or whatever. They really care. And it's
So
something I
I'll share
really
with
believe that when
you.
your energy is like that, okay, when you
I'll share with you something small that
go
happened
ahead.
last night.
I'm listening.
As the bill as the bill came, one of the guys went to the waitress and said, "Listen, I want to say thank you. I know the food was amazing, the atmosphere was great, but you had a big part of our night. And what you did for us was very big, and I'm not just saying that. And
Wow.
if I could, I would steal you to one of my restaurants." You know what she replied? And she said, I came and until 8:30, it felt like I came to a working shift. You guys came in and told me I can do whatever I want and have fun. And I wanted to tell you as my clients, thank you, I had fun. This is where happiness comes, I think, to life.
Absolutely. This is human contact. This is what it's all about. The food is just the means to touch people, to touch people's hearts. You made me so happy by telling me this. Thank you. This is exactly what I
My
wanted.
pleasure.
When I had my restaurant in mind, this is exactly what I wanted to happen.
So I think after this episode, I'll send you her name so you can tell her in person because she was really great. And you then go
Please do.
to
Please
the
do.
fact that you do a service every single night. You start from scratch. How do you deal with feedback? You said you used to be crushed, but now there's an operation. I always tell my staff I don't care about the good things. I know it was good. I need the feedback of what didn't work. So how do you take that feedback and turn it into a positive? How do you deal with that on a daily basis?
We all love being flattered, but the real learning process is only by criticism. So, what I do is, first of all, I ask all my friends to tell me the truth. It's really important. That's why you were such a good friend by writing me this morning about this friend of yours who didn't enjoy it, because we'll find out exactly what went wrong. She's going to get a call tomorrow morning. I don't want to call her on Saturday, but tomorrow morning she'll get a call and we'll find out exactly what went wrong so we can learn from it. Of course, we'll try to make her happy, but it's more than that. This feedback can teach us where we went wrong and what happens sometimes, because we cannot be in the guest seat. We always on the serving part of this relationship. So I take every feedback that I get and use it, okay? And I decided long ago to leave behind my ego. It doesn't work. It doesn't do you any good. When you are driven by ego, you don't learn anything. So, but 20 years ago, I decided that people who don't tell me the truth cannot be my friends. And every detail of criticism, of tough love, it's being analyzed, it's being corrected. We take it very, very seriously. We employ a company of two people that were very, very well-known managers, restaurant managers in Tel Aviv, and they have a company that deals with unhappy clients and with criticism. We call randomly. We call people to ask what their experience has been like. We get a lot of compliments, but we get some criticism as well, and we correct. It's not that you start every dish by cutting, chopping onion. Every dish starts with chopping onion and garlic in the Mediterranean. It's not only that. You start every day by analyzing your the previous day, what was really nice, what went wrong, and how we correct it. Every day we aspire to be better, and and you know. I never think that I never think, we're great. We don't, I always think we need to improve, always. So
You
it's just,
mentioned,
it's a daily, daily battle.
I say you mentioned feedback, tough love as a part of growing and continuous improvement, which I love, putting the ego aside, which I completely agree with, even if sometimes it is difficult. But I think as entrepreneurs in general, in order to be successful, you need to embrace the scars on your back, the big failures. Can you give me like an epic fail that you learn from, that people can learn from as well, without losing a lot of money and time, that you
Oh
can
yeah.
share with us?
Wow. In 31 years, I have millions of stories of things that went wrong, things that we managed to save. A lot of, sometimes I'll tell you something really that really taught me something. I talked to a pilot in El Al, the Israel Airlines, and he said, if you only knew how many times during a regular flight we have really crises or things that go wrong in a plane, you would never board a plane again. So that I thought to myself, wow, because it's like it's exactly like this in a wedding or in a dinner, like a night in a restaurant. So many things go wrong. So and I tell my staff, we're like on stage. It doesn't matter what happens in the back of the stage. We can go through the worst crisis. You walk around smiling as if everything is okay because you do not want to ruin other people's evening. And most things we manage to save and correct during service, and clients usually don't even feel. And if they did, we compensate them. But we did have a major, major screw up. Excuse my French, but it was a screw up, and it was the biggest crisis of our career, and it was a year and a half ago during the Israeli New Year holiday, and it was during COVID. We decided to, since we were closed, our restaurant and catering was closed, so we cooked holiday dinners and sent them to people would order, and we sent beautiful, beautiful holiday dinners. And something went wrong with our logistics. It's something that never ever happened before, and we had a huge, huge crisis that was started as a tiny crisis which wasn't treated efficiently, and about I think 25%, 20 to 25% of the people who ordered holiday dinners didn't get them. Okay, some didn't get them on time, some didn't get them at all. And there was curfew outside. Uh, Shops were closed. They couldn't order anywhere else. They couldn't go to their local supermarket. There were actually about 100 and something families that sat that evening on the holiday without food on their tables. At least not the food they ordered from us. Maybe they cooked something from their freezers because uh, we all buy too much food anyway. But our dinners didn't get there, and it was a fiasco. It was really bad. We didn't deal with it well at real time. It was really something that shouldn't have happened. And after crying my heart out, really crying because if I remind you that my whole purpose is making people happy. So this whole thing was much beyond their reputation, money. It was just the fact that people were really couldn't celebrate that evening. So we built a team, and this is really something. It's something that is, when crisis happen, the first thing is to admit them. Okay, I went I was interviewed that evening by a reporter. It was reported in all of in Israel, everywhere. So this grew up. So I took responsibility, and I didn't try to cover it up or anything. And the next day, we collected all our previous, present and past best managers, and it was a holiday, and we started calling we didn't know how many people got their food, and the ones who didn't. So we started calling every single family that ordered food and get their feedback, if they got the food on time, if it was okay, and what happened. You can imagine, we were screamed at, we were threatened by people. We took full responsibility. Of course, we refunded the full amount of money, and a week later, we sent each and every family a dinner that was called. It's a phrase in Judaism. After the New Year, you have 10 days of redemption, of asking for forgiveness of things you did during the year and hurt people. So we sent a forgiveness dinner that was about 150% more bigger and really fancier than what they have ordered. So they got compensation, they got the refund and the compensation and personal letter of forgiveness, asking for forgiveness from Ran, my partner, and myself, by handwritten. Okay, asking for, we screwed up. We ask for your forgiveness, and it worked amazingly. And I thought that people will not come to my restaurant anymore, or do weddings in my catering. I mean, this it really has disappeared. People trust us again and come to us, and those who remember talk to me about that and said, "What happened?" But they forgave, because when you take responsibility, when you admit, and when you correct things, people forgive. Okay, and that is something that in every business, we sometimes things happen, shit happens, it does. So
I
taking
what I'm hearing
responsibility
is
and paying, it
what I'm
costs us
hearing is
about a million
giving
shekels.
what I'm hearing is giving back the money, taking responsibility, being accountable, and then giving another meal 150% more, and apologizing and doing it handwritten. I think it's not just the gesture and the amount of thought, and people understand the amount of money because they've spent a lot of money that they didn't get the food and refunded. And I think it's such a big gesture that someone cannot say, nah, I still am angry, or whatever. And I think that also creates a word of mouth when people say, hey, you won't believe what happened. So after we complain so much, look at what they did. And I think sometimes it has a lot to do with being open and saying, hey, we screwed up. It happens. We're not happy about it, but this is what we're able to do. And I think today we're kind of lacking accountability in a lot of things. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. The first reaction I got, it was holiday, and it went on one of Israel's largest news agency. My interview, my partners refused, said that we can't deal with it, and I was the only one that said, I'm going to do it, and by apologizing, and the first reaction I got from a person I think I did her wedding like 20 years ago. She wrote me a WhatsApp, and she said, I wish our prime minister and our leaders would have taken responsibility like you just did. They have so much to learn from you. Because, you can't ignore the fact that it happened, but you can, and people were hurt. But and things, it already happened. Just the fact is that a lot of people do not take responsibility. And it's a very, by the way, talking about EO and why I feel so much at home at EO, I feel that they just our accountability at forum, our tough love that we give each other, the 5% that we're so trained to talk about. We don't bullshit around. We talk about the real things. We deal with reality. And this is such an EO value, I think, to face things, take responsibility, take action immediately, not wait. And then if people won't forgive you, you know that you did the best you could. From that point, it's theirs. If people cling to hatred and criticism and anger, it's theirs.
You know what comes to mind is that what I'm hearing is if you're a young entrepreneur looking to build a business or thinking about a business, I would encourage you to go to your top three friends and say, hey, please, as long as I'm talking about this business, please give me tough love and don't just say, oh, yeah, great. That's one thing. And then if you do ask me to be held accountable, ask me, am I using my ego or not? And if I'm not, what am I going to do to solve that problem or crisis? And I think just using this framework, you will learn that you can move much faster. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. We live in a world that is so fake, so fake. You see all these Instagram photos and everybody's smiling, happy, 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 and just like a frick of a second afterwards, they go back to life, and life is really, tough. So, by tough love and talking about real things and giving real feedback is so rare. It's so rare, and it's so valuable. Of course,
Yeah. Last
it's a
week, I was
must.
talking to a very good friend of mine, which has started a very impressive new position. And as we were talking on Instagram, and I was complimenting her on her achievements, and she says, don't believe everything you see on Instagram. And I said, I think you're the third one who said that this week to me. But she said, yeah, I'm working hard. I'm not having fun. It's tougher than I thought. But every picture is like with my new team, having fun, conquering the world and everything. And I even see that sometimes when I travel, where people say, oh, you're having so much fun. And I say, no, I'm literally exhausted. I had 4 talks in 24 hours. I've been on 2 planes. I want to go home. I'm tired. But on Instagram, it looks amazing. I have a question for you. If you didn't do food, beverage, or making people happy through food, what would you do?
I would be a psychologist. No, you know what? No, that was my automatic reaction. Thank you for asking. Because all my life I thought I wanted to be a psychologist, but now I know I want to be a mentor. I want to lead people in progress, growth. I've experienced such growth in the past few years since I joined the EO and since I did some workshops that really helped me clean back, old habits and old restraints. And I want to share it with other people. So this is one thing I want to do. And the second thing I want to do is help people through my business, like not my business, my expertise, through food. It's interesting because I want to do things, but food is only the means. Okay, because food helps you touch people. It's something really intimate. People get it into their systems. You eat something, it goes through your body, something really strong. And food can be used for therapy, can be used for leadership purposes. Just using the things I've learned for so many years to help people progress. This is something I really want to do. And I want to do it not necessarily in Western countries that we're so affluent, we're so lucky to be born in places like Europe and Israel, and I want to do it in other places where they have a way to go, and um, this is something
It takes me
that I
to
really
two
want to do.
different, you're taking me on two different questions, so I'll try and somehow connect them. One is what you studied and what you're doing are not the same. And I think in that sense, if you could tell people that it's fine to go study something and change. Secondly, mentorship in general, you have over 3 decades of experience, unparalleled to many people I know in the food and beverage industry and in general. What do you think about all these young mentors at 22 or 23 that advertise, I'll be your mentor, I'll be your business advisor?
Okay, so let's start with the first one. I studied in communication and international service. I actually wanted to go into the foreign ministry and be Israel's ambassador in the world. I didn't go into it for political reasons. I don't always agree with things that with our politics. So I decided to change the world through my own means and not through representing the country. And it's something that I really think that studies. First of all, I study all the time. Okay, all the time. When I joined, when I started joining, when I joined RAN, my ex, he was a chef and he had a tiny catering business. And I came from the communication world. I had no idea about. I love eating, but besides that, I had no idea, and I learned it. So we study all the time, and if I can tell something I really meaningful to young people now, is that learn all the time. Learn from every person you meet. Ask questions, be curious, ask people about their lives. There's so much to learn from other people's lives. Sometimes your gardener or your doorman or anybody, people that you see every day and you just say hi and never stop to talk to them. Sometimes these people have such life experience that you can learn from so much from. So I learn all the time. I meet people. We go out, we spend time together, we're at GLC together, and it's just meeting people makes me so curious. So you don't only learn at a university or college or whatever, you learn all the time. And be curious, it doesn't matter at what subject. It really, really cultivates your brain. It helps you be creative. And my biggest ideas did not come from food. They came from art. They came from eating at a snack somewhere, listening to somebody tell me about their food history, about an experience they've had, something like they encountered when they were traveling. These things really, I feel that my creativity comes from there. So definitely learn all the time. You don't have to practice what you've learned from your academic studies. It just makes you more knowledgeable, but not more than that. Be open, change your career whenever you feel like it. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. When something new triggers you, go and look for it. So this is really my legend, or my philosophy, how to live this life. And what was the second question? Oh, mentors.
Young mentors.
Okay, people can be very vain. Yeah, people can be very vain. Okay, in my business, especially reality programs, you see talented young chefs, really talented, but they have no experience. Okay, and they become celebrities and open restaurants, and I keep telling them, you have to work your censorship, your ass off and break your back before you can become a chef. And you have to go through so much in business before you can become a mentor. You can be the brightest person, but life teaches you so much, and you cannot help other people before you fall on your face a few times, and you lose money a few times, and you cry your heart out because you screwed up a business or a venture. You have to be scarred before you can help somebody else. That's why I love being 58 years old, because I've gained so much in these years. And yes, I do have some wrinkles, but I don't care, and I don't do anything to hide them. because these wrinkles give me so much experience and wisdom that you cannot gain in any other way. So, young mentors, be patient. You have a long way to go. Uh, be
So
humble. That's my
here's a
my view
question
about
most
this.
people here's a question that most people will not know about you, which I think for me is still mind blowing. You remember people that did the wedding 20 years ago in your company. You still remember them. I can barely remember people that came to my talk last week. How on earth do you do that?
It's even crazier. I remember what we served at their wedding. This is so crazy. Um, I think it comes from the fact that it's not technical for me. Okay, I really love these people while we're together. And I explain what I mean by that. When a couple comes to me and I ask them about their, things they love doing, and when did they meet? Like, how did their, love of romance started? And how do they spend their time? And like, people look at me and say, why do you care? And I still do that 31 years later. Why do you care? And I said, because I want to know you. I really care. I want to know you. It's so easy to tell you, oh, we'll serve this meat and this fish or whatever. But this is really technical. The thing is, who are you? The two people were, coming to me for your maybe not the most important night of your life, but one of the most important nights of your life, or days and nights of your life. I want to understand who you are. The food is just an interpretation. It's a means to an end. And since I really go deep and I really care, and I sometimes invent dishes that will represent these two people. Okay, they tell me that they were in Switzerland and they had this beautiful raw fish, and they drank this amazing wine and fell in love. So I will invent a dish in their wedding that will, it's like most people won't know, but the couple will know that this dish in their wedding actually is a reminder of that night that when they fell in love. So when you really care that much, you don't forget. You don't forget.
I think
And
the
I do care. I
creativity
do
and
care.
feelings, right? Like you need to be creative and you remember things when you're creative. Is that a good way of looking at it?
Yeah, it's like when you're, creativity. It's interesting that it took me a long time to understand that I create dishes. I close my eyes, and I apologize before that. I close my eyes and I see it. I actually see the dish. I see the colors. I feel the textures. I balance it, and it's a visual thing. Okay, I'm also a photographer. I photograph. It's my hobby. My true love is photography. So when you create something that is really very personal, it's mine. Okay, I do it for them, and they'll eat it and they'll love it, and it'll be beautiful and whatever. But it's my own gift to them. Okay, and it's based on my own psychological inner self. It's the way I experience them. So of course I can't forget them. It's something that I created with them, for them. So how can I forget?
If someone wants to open a restaurant today somewhere on the planet, are you, yay, go for it, or listen?
It's interesting, I had a one-on-one talk with one of our new members, chapter members, last week, and he was talking about opening that when he was 21, he had a tiny restaurant, and he hated it. He said it was such hard work and dirty work. He said, I'll never do that again, and how can you be in this business for so long? And I said, I love it. So I said, you opened it for the wrong reasons, and that's why you hated it. So if you open a restaurant to become rich, don't open it. Okay? You are not going to become rich from a restaurant. If you want to become rich, think about fast food or some like a chain or but it's not like a restaurant like I see a restaurant. This is very hard work. If you are a very determined person, okay, somebody who can run like a marathon for years and years and years. If you love talking to people, if you're a person, okay, a people's person, if seeing people enjoy makes you happy, if creating something every single day is something in your personality, is your DNA. If you don't mind hard work, if you don't mind working 7 days a week, then you might get it might tell you yes, go for it. If you're not that kind of a person, don't do it. I remember talking to the wife of one of my chefs. He asked me to talk to his wife. He had a marital crisis, and he said, save me. She really wants me to quit." And I had a talk with her, and she was like this corporate person, beautifully dressed, usually sitting in a beautiful office, air conditioned office. And she says, I wanted to work for like an American corporate. He's really bright. Why can't he do that? Why does he have to come back from an event stinking? His clothes stinking. He smells like food. He smells like the barbecue. I mean, I can't stand it. I said to her, if this is, if this, I said to her, there's no way, okay? Now you have to give up this hope of yours that he'll one day work for a corporate. That's not going to happen. Even if he quits his job with us, which it'll be a real shame, he'll never work for a corporate. He will always need the fields of pumpkins and the fire and the creation and the hundreds of people that look at him with a smile after eating his food. So forget about it. It's not going to happen. The fact that he smells of food, yes. So arrange with him that he takes off his clothes by the washing machine and takes a shower before you meet him. But he'll always have some smell of onion and fish in his hands. And if you don't like it, okay, this marriage is not going to last. This is the kind of people, and these are people who cannot live without it. So if you're that kind of a person and you're willing to face ups and downs and criticism and happiness and and the roller coaster of that we know as entrepreneurs, yes, definitely go for it. But
You
only for
know,
that kind of a person.
you know that I start my talks and sometimes I'm a guest lecturer in colleges or stuff. I start my talk by saying, if you have to live in the middle, here are the two things you need to remember. Never open a bar, never write a book. I'm in my fifth bar and I'm just finishing my third book. And for me, it's always a big thing. And I think today I'm mainly enjoying the bars as a small time partner, and mainly for the hosts, but working hard in my agency. And I think that was the mixture of everything. But what do you think about entrepreneurship and the food and beverage businesses with young women? Is it still like a manly business in your opinion?
You know, okay, it's a goal of mine. You know that it really, really hurts me that young women in Israel, at least, but I understand it's not only here, quit after they have their first baby and never go back to our business. The fact that the working hours, the emergency, it's the urgency and emergency that we always work. There's always pressure. We always need them for double shifts. So I mean, so a lot of women after they give birth don't come back, and I've talked with so many of them and said to them, come back, don't leave the working force, don't get out of this business. It's a great business for women. I had my two girls. I have a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old, and I worked 7 days a week, 23 hours a day. And I had the girls, and I think they came out quite well, and they have me as a role model, and they know that if you work hard and you play hard also, by the way, but they know that women can go really high and really succeed. And it's a shame, and it's not. It's COVID has even damaged this even further, because after young women, young mothers have spent time with their children at home, they're hesitant of coming back to demanding roles and ambitious roles, and I think it must change. It must change. They can be in they can be in the kitchen for a certain time, and then when they have young kids, they can go to the back of the house to do other things. And then when the kids grow up, they can go back to leadership and management. And there's so many things to do. It's a shame. It's a shame, and it's something that is educational. They tell me things like, my husband really doesn't like that, and it's 2022. It's something that I find it very hard to understand.
But you're
It's a
working, you're
shame.
talking about work ethics
It's a shame.
and
I want to
and
change.
finding your job and everything. And my question is, what do we do now in 2022 where people are not working as hard, or they don't want to work as hard, or we're not allowed to say certain things, or how do we train? How do they become tougher for what's coming next, especially when you have to feel the heat in the kitchen?
Wow, that's a huge challenge. Um, we're facing, I know many fields face the same challenge. I know the airports, the travel business, high tech business. Um, what I try to do in my businesses is to come up with solutions for problems that are not titled like the main problems, but I think they're the basis. We only see the tip of the iceberg, and I try to deal with a lower part of the problem. And I'll give you an example, because I know it doesn't, I'm not making myself too clear. Tel Aviv is rated the most expensive city in the world now. Okay, my restaurant is in Tel Aviv. My waiters cannot pay the rent in Tel Aviv. I need them to live in Tel Aviv, because otherwise they won't commute. Okay, so they need to live close by. So what do I do? During COVID, they all went back to live with their parents. They realized that it wasn't that bad, because their laundry is being cleaned and the food is being cooked. So why not? So I have competition here that is different than what it used to be. So I came up with an idea. I said, let's have a competition in the restaurant, and the best 10 waiters will subsidize their rent in Tel Aviv. Will pay their rent, and then they can live in Tel Aviv. They'll work, okay, they'll commit, okay, they'll have to work a certain number of shifts for a certain amount, like for like 2 years or so, and then we'll be able to rebuild the infrastructure that we lost during COVID when they all left. So we need stability. Let's do it from a different angle. And actually, I want to say, talking about EO, this idea came to me during a webinar of Vern Harnish, when he shared like an issue with a garbage collectors in, I think, in one of his clients, and just addressing a problem from a different angle, because I understand that using the same methods that worked before is stupid. Is stupid, because the world has changed, and we have to and another thing, we're 58, okay, they're 22. We grow older, they remain 22, because they keep changing and switching. But the gap between us is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there are different generations. So let's be creative and really ask them what is really bothering them, not what we think is bothering them, and address these issues. And that's what we've started doing. Okay, we take them like no, this past week, a group from my restaurant was in France, I think it was in Bourgogne, on a wine tour. Okay, a wine tour of amazing wineries in Bourgogne. Okay, and they had, and it was all financed because this generation wants to grow and develop. Okay, they love wine. They care about things like that, lifestyle wine. So we approach it from a different angle. You have to be creative if you want to be on top for a long time. Okay,
I
if
love
you
it.
stay
What I'm
stuck
hearing,
at things that worked for you before.
yeah. So what I'm hearing is creativity on the plate and around the plate, and I think that is interesting in the sense of we can't do what we did before. The world has changed. We see it now. As COVID started, we were discussing that, the big resignation, the great resignation, everybody leaving. Now everybody's coming. What I'm hearing is when we talk about the startup nation, what's a startup, right? Find a problem. If you have a solution for it, raise money and build it, which is awesome. And I think addressing every aspect of your businesses, here's a problem, how do we solve it? But then talking to your team and staff is I think, such a quicker and better way of solving that. I don't know if you remember March of 2020, we went on an EO call with EO Shanghai, and they were telling us that COVID is not going to disappear. They're trying to figure out different ways of bringing their employees where they sleep in one apartment and do shifts. They had sell less meat, go a lot of vegetables to save on cost, and buy a lot of plastic utensils. Like you're going to sell, everything's going to be plastic. And I called some of my partners in some of our businesses, and they laughed at me. And I said, "But this is the future is coming. We can solve it now, before prices double and everything." And they said, "Ah, don't worry about it. 2 weeks, it'd be gone." And I remember after like 6 months, I said, "I'm so happy these 2 weeks have been they passed so fast." Using someone else's experiences and knowledge, that thirst for learning that we have, I think is amazing. At a certain point, I feel like listening to you every single time, and we've done a different episode last year, I think, in Hebrew, and you're always inspiring me to do more, to rethink what I'm doing. And I want to say thank you for that on a personal level.
Wow, wow, thank you. Wow.
Any last words, something you want to tell us, share with us before we finish this amazing episode?
Yes, actually, it's an EO thing. I want to say something why I'm so involved. I'm president. I'm going to continue in the second year of presidency, which will start July 1st, and I'm the first one in our chapter that will go for 2 years, and I want to explain what EO is for me. Okay, I'm doing this because I grow. EO has taught me that I have this amazing opportunity to develop myself and grow in so many ways. I'm training muscles that I never knew that ever existed in myself. And I really, I'm so thankful for this opportunity. And being a president was like last year was so tough for me because I'm using to leading people that I pay, my employees. I pay people and then I lead them. And I had to face the challenges of leading people who are volunteers, who are members just like me, who have their own businesses, their own views. And I trained and I developed so many skills and understandings. And just by being a member, a foreign member, a chapter member, a member of the global, going to EO events have made me a better person. And this is, I'm so grateful. I am just a grateful person. And this is why am I saying this as a last sentence? Because I encourage every person within EO and outside of EO to do things they haven't done before. Challenge yourself. Go for the hard part. Don't do the things that are easy for you. Go for for the difficult, and score, score your wins. And so this is my finale. That's what I want to say for my last sentence.
Hearing you speak, I will finish with two stories, if I may, that are involving food and why I love EO. And the first one is I travel quite often, and sometimes I travel for extensive amounts of time. I meet a lot of EO members and everything, but I spend a lot of time alone. And food, I'm hungry, I need to eat. And Aviv, which is one of our forum members, told me, no, 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 you eat well. You don't just eat. You go into a restaurant, you sit on the bar, you order the dishes that you like, you order two drinks, and you have fun. And you will see things will happen. And I said, I know so many people, things always happen. He said, no, no, no. Enjoy it. Pick a dish you like, have the entree, have the main course. You will see. And a few months ago, I was in London for a month, and it was unbelievable. And he would text me every day around 5 to ask me, where am I going to have dinner today? And that became a habit for me. And things did happen on so many different levels, all the way to thinking about opening a business in London because of that. And the second thing, and that'll be my closer for this, involves you. And after COVID, your business has been closed, I don't know, 12, 14 months. And when you reopened, the forum said, of course, we're going to be there to support. Then we booked a table, we came, all of us, and we ordered everything, every type of meat and dishes. When the night ended, 3.5 hours or so passed, and we all threw up credit cards as if we're so suddenly very rich. And I didn't look at the tab at all, I didn't care. What I did understand in that moment is that I had an amazing 3.5, 4 hours, great stories, great fun, great people around me, and the food was amazing. And that made me understand that I want to have more of these experiences and learning from you that it is about picking the right people to sit around me at the table. And then the food tastes better. So I want to say thank you for you for teaching me that lesson.
Wow. Thank you for sharing this. This is so, that night has been so meaningful for me. Having you all there, feeling that I'm supported, that I have my support group with me. It was an amazing night. And I'll never forget that night. Never. So thank you for being
So
there.
I'm going to say a huge thank you, Zohar Shmueli from EO Israel. It's been a pleasure. I know you're very busy. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate every moment. And I'll see you all in the next episode. We'll put your details so people can reach out to you. If you are ever in Israel, trust me, you will enjoy that place. Claro in Tel Aviv. Go have fun. We'll see you in the next episode.